This is a bottle of Johnnie Walker Red Label. Nothing too exciting. But this is a bottle of Johnnie Walker Red Label from the 1970s. And today I'm going to be comparing the two and seeing how much they've changed. Now, a quick point in this, an immediate physical difference is that this bottle is taller and also it's made out of real materials. This is actual glass and this is nice squeezy plastic. There isn't a difference in the ABV in these samples. Some American Red Label was presented at a higher ABV around about this time frame, so you'd get them at 43.4% ABV. This being a UK sample, it's 40%, so that's not a difference that we have here. However, one of the things that should be noted with this is that obviously it's completely different stock, it's completely different casks, it's completely different maturation methods. As much as Johnnie Walker harp on about the consistency of their product, the evidence says something else. There's a lot of these bottles that are still hanging around because even though they weren't collectible in any way, shape or form, they were still bought en masse. So there's still a fair few examples of them out there, and they do fetch a fairly pretty penny because people do get nostalgic for these older examples. This is going to be my second go of trying an older bottling of Johnnie Walker. The first time I did this was comparing the modern bottling of the Johnnie Walker Green Label with its cousin from around about 2012, so not that old, and there was already a discernible and frankly alarming difference. So I'm fascinated to see what the difference is going to be when, I mean, these are almost 50 years apart now, which is kind of terrifying to say. So I'm going to get both of these into a glass and give them a fair shot. Now then, I've done the Johnnie Walker Red Label already, and we discovered that while it's nothing exceptional, it's certainly not a sipping whiskey by any stretch of the imagination. I tried to give it a bit of a pass because it's not marketed as a sipping whiskey. It's not designed, I suppose, for want of a better way of putting it, as a sipping whiskey. It's meant to sort of be an alcohol delivery system. And something I should quickly say as well about this bottle, and by the way, I just opened a bottle that hasn't been opened in, well, over 50 years. The fill level's quite low. It is going to affect it a little bit, but unless they've basically been kept in a vacuum or they've been transported via TARDIS, most vintage bottles are going to have a point of difference from when they were first bottled to trying them now. So they're not going to be perfect, but we're more sort of looking for slightly blunt force versions of comparable differences. So in that one goes. I'll try and reserve a fair bit of that. Now then, first things first, colour. Colour-wise, they're broadly the same. This one's a little bit darker, but this one definitely has caramel colouring in it, and I would imagine that this one does as well. In the 70s, they were using all sorts of other artificial aids as well, sort of like things like sherry syrups and stuff like that, to kind of artificially imbibe flavours into the whiskies, which have since been banned and outlawed and all the rest of it. Whiskey's changing all the time, and what you can and can't do with it is changing all the time. Things like staves and stuff, that used to be a thing, and now it's not a thing. It changes all the time, so as you go through the decades, different whiskies are going to have different production methods. The colour is kind of beside the point with these ones because, again, Johnnie Walker goes for consistent and appealing colour. So if it was really young, really light whiskey, they're just going to chuck a load of colour in it anyway. But for what we've got, the older one is a bit darker. Now to nose them side by side. There's a heavy ethanol kick in this one. It's a bit of pepper. It's very junipery as well. There's something very, very vegetal and plant-like in that. It's not giving off many mature whiskey aromas. And as for the older one, oh my, wow. It's certainly giving a lot more off. It is sort of like you walked into a vintage bookstore. It's got that kind of like old paper smell. There's a little bit of like a lemon influence in there as well. It smells a little sweeter on the nose. Though I've got to say, actually nosing it, there is still a pretty pronounced ethanol whack off of that. So it's not like there's a gargantuan difference. There is a difference, but it's quite subtle and quite minor. They're actually comparably similar, if I'm being honest, which I was not expecting. But let's try it on flavour. So I'll try the new one first and try the old one second. Do you know what? I stand by my comments. It's not a terrible sipper. It's not ideal. I mean, you know, in a pinch, in an emergency, it'll do, you know? It is quite harsh. There's like vegetal agave notes. There's something a little bit junipery about it. It's kind of like if you tried to mix gin and tequila together. But then there is like a vanilla-iness to it. It's not horrific. It's not good, don't get me wrong, but it's not horrific. I think I've had worse sipping experiences in the Johnnie Walker range from their older, better stock. So, yeah, it's not dreadful. It's not great, it's not dreadful. But now the moment we've all been waiting for, I certainly have been. What is 50-year-old Johnnie Walker Red Label like? There's no comparison. It's leagues ahead. There is still quite a sharp heat to it. There's a strong nip. Once you get past that, there's sort of like a buttery... Do you know, I'm going to nail my colours to a mast and say it's down to Klein Leash. I'm not 100% certain, but I'm going to sort of take a guess, take a stab in the dark and say that there's a heavy influence of Klein Leash in that. There's black pepper, there's a little bit of marzipan in there as well, a bit of lemon. It is still quite hot, and that spice kind of lingers. There's definitely more going on. Do you know, I would say that it's still not an ideal sipper, but it's got a hell of a lot more going on for it. And actually, I think leaving that in the glass for 10-20 minutes, you probably have a pretty decent dram on your hands, to be honest. To answer a quick question though, are they different? Yeah, miles different. On the nose, not a huge amount. There's a little bit that's detectable, but when it comes to the palate, yeah, they're incomparably different. You can just tell that this is a more cheaply made product, and not least because it's in a squeezy plastic bottle, but just because it just tastes like they're phoning it in. You know, like when you try something, you're just like, there's been no effort put into this whatsoever. Like when you go into like a chain pub or something like that, and you order something, and it's just, like, I don't know, you order a chicken sandwich, and it just tastes like the chicken suffered, you know? You know what I mean though, don't you? Like, it's as cheap and poor quality as you can possibly get, and you're charged, top whack for it. And there's no pride and there's no love in it, and they just put it out there because they know for every complaint they're going to get 10 people that will put up with it. They might not be happy, but they'll put up with it. And this one feels like some effort was made. I'm not saying they knocked it out of the park. I'm saying that, like, maybe it's like a fledgling restaurant in its first year of business, and they're still trying a few things out, and there's some things they're getting right and there's some things they're getting wrong, but that's the point of difference there. Some effort was made, no fucks were given. That's what I'm getting in terms of the overall experience from the two whiskies. And actually, I'm looking forward to letting this breathe for about 10 minutes, because I suspect, partly because of the time range, that there's some older stuff in this. There's no age declaration on this one, although it does actually say on the label Old Scotch Whisky, but no year is given, obviously. Whether that's in reference to the brand itself or whether it's in reference to the liquid, I don't really know. Johnnie Walker have always kind of kept their cards close to their chest, which is part of the reason why they've been as successful as they have. It would be nice if Johnnie Walker started trying again. I don't think they're going to anytime soon. They're still very much pushing towards bling and look at us and branding, and the whiskey is an afterthought almost. It's the delivery of the product and how it comes across in people's minds. I'm probably not going to have many friends at Johnnie Walker HQ, but hey, I mean, I'll call it as I see it. I've not had any companies come forward to me yet saying, hey, do you want to try our products and give it a review? Frankly, I think that must mean that I'm doing something right, to be honest. But anyway, yeah, that was Johnnie Walker Red. Huge differences. I do prefer the 70s one, just because you can taste that there has been some effort made in it, but there's not a gargantuan amount of difference, but there is a difference. And I think it comes mainly down to the effort that's been put into them more than anything else. I'm going to quickly close down by trying this one more time. There's this bright, like, butterscotch note when you first drink it. And it evolves into, like, cardamom, spice, pepper. It transforms, you know, like there's a bit of detail going on. If you gave that to me, I'd probably be like, yes, that's, you know, standard single malt. And you could drink that on its own. I almost feel like it'd be a shame to mix it, actually, because there's enough going on with it that it should be allowed to stand on its own 2 feet. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Let me know down below, have you tried any vintage Johnnie Walkers? What did you think of them? Do you want to seek some out? You can get miniatures on auction, and they're not that bad. There's a bit of a lull at the minute. People aren't wanting to put money down for various things. I probably shouldn't have done myself, but I did because I thought, well, I want to see it. And do let me know if you'd like me to do this again, because I'm going to, because I've got a vintage bottle of the Johnnie Walker Black as well. So that'll be coming at some point in the not too distant future. Thank you very much for watching, guys. There'll be links down below to my Patreon as well. If you feel like supporting the channel financially, all donations are gratefully accepted, and you do get some goodies in return for the money that you part with. Thank you very much for watching though, guys, and do join me next time where I'll be drinking something else.